Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to
He's taken another one and another, and Howard Foster has stopped it. Wow, that is going to be controversial.
That's a crunching right hand, and that must finish it. It must finish it.
Yes. What's going on, people? Kojo, fresh in the building. Raps on TV, here to talk all the best things in boxing. Here with my co-host, as per usual, who is remote, Tom Lyons. How you doing, young Tom?
I'm very well, Kojo. It's good to be back. Fresh setup, and yeah, just keep the ball rolling every week. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to @Raps on TV on all platforms. All of that.
So thank you very much. Don't worry, we changed the setup, so slight technical difficulties, but nothing major. We'll get there in the end. It's all about familiarity. So really, I'll say looking forward to this this show. It's pretty quiet in all when it's all said and done. I think we've got the Fury fight that we're going to kick into. It takes place this weekend over in Vegas. Fury, obviously still undefeated, is taking on Wallin, so that should be a good fight in terms of seeing where he is in terms of his progression. Outside of that, we're going to go into detail probably on the Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz press tour, which kicked off last week. Saudi, New York and London were the destinations which saw the heavyweight champions and former champion go face to face. So really looking forward to that fight in December. A very entertaining press conference, which I'll let Tom delve into a bit shortly. But essentially we had Regis Prograis, great fighter, Josh Taylor, great fighter, being told that they are small boys and nobody wants to see them for the worthless Ali trophy. Derek Chisora is the man. He will never change. I'm really happy to hear his side of things. And we're also going to talk about previous guests, Streetwise Management's fighters, Ramez Mahmood, Jordan St. Dijon, Ryan Fizz, and their coach Mickey Amujuna doing a great job on the weekend, getting wins for the whole team. So that was really great news and good to see. But Tom, I think there's no better place to start than your activities yesterday. You were a very busy journalist, getting all the latest scoop and all the dig, and lucky you didn't get a punch from Chisora. But just talk us through the day, the press conference and your thoughts on it as a whole.
Yeah, blimey. Press conference yesterday to announce Regis Prograis, Josh Taylor. Yeah, it was good. You know, this is a card that should get a lot of attention from the boxing world. A lot of good fights on this card. You got Yves Nagabu defending his European title against Okoli. You got Selby Burns, which was a bit of a, I mean, I wouldn't say bizarre, but it was a bit of a, didn't expect that to be the kind of crossroads fight we'd see, you know, so early on. And then, yeah, like topping the bill, got Chisora Parker and Prograis Taylor. And for the antics, the showmanship, the camaraderie that, I mean, Chisora's always bringing that, you know, that fun, that excitement to pre-fight rituals, and then again in the ring, he's doing what he's doing. He's under a new polished regime with Haymaker. Mm-hmm. He seems to be firing all cylinders, and yeah, just wait till the night and see. I can imagine more fireworks.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, in terms of being watching that whole sort of press conference erupt, was there a sense before it kicked off that Chisora was in one of those moods? Did you get a feeling from him at all, or from anyone in the venue?
Yeah, look, it's not helpful that, you know, the opponent that he's meant to be fighting doesn't show up, but sometimes this stuff happens. You've just got to ride the wave. You know, Chisora, he's going to always adopt that business mentality where he can get a few extra quid out of, you know, Eddie's back pocket. He can try and sell the show. And he did raise a good point. You know, we look back to the likes of Muhammad Ali, Sonny Liston, Henry Cooper, all these fighters, you know, all the attention went on them. All the boxing fans wanted to tune in to these guys. And the same is applied today, you know, although technology is advanced, although the spectrum of opponents in all the divisions has advanced, the attention still remains at the heavyweights. Got the biggest fight in world boxing between Wilder and Fury that's been announced for February. We got, obviously, in December, Ruiz, Joshua in another territory. So even though, you know, outside of the boxing, different logistics seem to to put the heavyweights on map, and they're getting the most attention. And Chisora, by saying, that he doesn't feel that he's been treated 100% as fairly as probably that might not have been him being, a little bit brash and a little bit demanding. He might have just been, that's what he probably felt at the time. He probably just thought, look, I don't feel like we should be co-headlining a bill between someone of pro-grade stature. Although he's a great fighter, don't get me wrong, he's a talented fighter, I'm a massive fan of him. He's probably not selling out New Orleans, big stadiums in New Orleans, because he hasn't had the capacity that Chisora's had. He's not had the experience that Chisora's had. So there's a lot to contend with. But at the end of the day, this all doesn't matter. It's all about, tuning in to see competitive fights on a competitive platform in front of a competitive boxing world, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, I do think, I'm not going to say that Chisora didn't raise some good points. I think he raised some very valid points. However, I'll say they are the kind of points that you probably say you discuss with your manager beforehand. So I'm going to be inclined to say that probably David Hay knew what was going to happen and kind of agreed with it. So, because he kind of followed Chisora's suit. He was silent when he was ranting, and when he walked off, eventually David Hay did the same. So I think he's more than right. I don't think what he's saying is really... I think if anyone's going to be sensitive about it, then you know what, get over it, because this is Chisora. But I do think that he's right. Chisora and Parker, if they're the co-main event, then I think you would argue they need to be paid accordingly. I think it's clear that WBSS, although they're bringing good fights together, they're probably not being able to pay the fighters the money that is due to them for taking such a risk. You know what I mean? Because would Josh Taylor be fighting a Regis Prograis if he wasn't in this tournament? You know what I mean? Probably not. Not saying he's not a good fighter, but would he be taking on that level? Probably not. So it goes accordingly that, there's been issues with the money, like we already know with Lou DiBella and Progress taking the Sauerlands to court. So I think Chisora's right to say it. I think one thing Chisora's got, where I probably disagree, and maybe disagree strong, but where I think with Chisora is that, look, your fight against Parker's not pay-per-view, in my opinion. So if it's not pay-per-view, then you've got to say to yourself, how are we going to make it pay-per-view? Do you see what I mean? And it's the card. So it's not just you against Parker. It's Lee Selby versus Ricky Burns. Okay, these guys have been around for a while, but I think a lot of people are excited to see where Selby's at. After the biggest loss was Warrington, and Burns obviously taking a few defeats. So I think for me that's a really good fight. See how Selby adjusts to the weight as well. You've got cruiserweights, Coley versus Ngabu. So I'm probably butchered his name as well, but do you know what I mean? So I think it's the card overall, not necessarily just who the names are. Because Chisora Parker sounds good, but if Chisora flattens Parker, then I think we're going to say to ourselves, Parker was probably overhyped.
Yeah,
I don't know.
100%. And I think as well, like, none of these fights stand alone. You could probably argue are pay-per-view worthy.
Yeah.
And I think with it being such a good card, like such a mouth-watering card, where you have 50-50 fights, like people are saying, a Coley, the level of opponent that he's been boxing at the moment, no disrespect, but it's not on the level of Yves and Ngabu. It's a new concept. It's a new breath of fresh air, really, seeing these guys take major step ups so early on. And I just think that with Chisora Parker, I mean, look, even back to when Chisora fought Fury, was that pay-per-view worthy?
Exactly.
I mean, at the time, both are in a different trajectory. Parker's, he's probably underperformed his last 2-3 fights.
Yeah.
Chisora,
Parker White, you mean, or?
Yeah, well, Parker White was competitive.
Yes.
Parker had White down, but again, probably took a bit too long to get settled into the fight and get his hands moving quick enough, just having an impact early on. Whereas Chisora's likely just to come out and start really imposing himself. He's got nothing to lose now, so we can probably expect that kind of same trend as when he fought Spilka, when he fought Gashi. So we'll see. We'll have to see.
Yeah, no. And I think for me, I think it's going to be, if the fight gets made, which I presume it will, because no one's going to ignore the money. I just think Chisora has to be quite mindful. It's interesting. Did they say anything about why Parker didn't turn up because he's clearly in the States training, not making an effort. He's in Vegas. So did they say anything as to why he didn't turn up yesterday?
Not that I heard of, but I just thought it was a bit strange because you had, a lot of international exposure on this one where you got someone that's come over from, Louisiana, you got the Scottish. See, I just felt like Parker kind of needed to be there to really make it strong, give a good impression because, again, it is a big fight, so you kind of expect these guys to turn up, be professionals, sell the fight, be good advocates for the promotion. But maybe there was sort of logistics that we don't know of, and again, the training might have been something that disrupts his training, that he might have just been 2-3 weeks ahead of schedule. You just never know.
Yeah, no, so definitely interesting. So how was it overall? I saw that you got quite a few interviews. You want to just give us an update on interviews that you got, who you met, who you spoke with?
Yeah, it was really good. Must say, shout out to Duncan Ross, PR, for helping me with a few of the interviews. But yeah, with Conor Ben, he's in good spirits. Have to say, he looks like a refreshed character. He's glad to be back on the big shows. Again, obviously headlining against Koivula. Everyone seems kind of buzzing about the fight. Although the press conference was a little bit tame. But besides the Chisora stuff, which was hilarious. It was good. It was good to see that everyone's kind of happy with their position. They know exactly what is needed now. The stakes are high. The standards have been set. The World Boxing Super Series concept is continuously talked about. We need the best fight and the best. That's what makes the sport tick. That's what makes everyone excited about these big fights. Who's number one? Who's number two? Who deserves to state their claim as the top dog of the division? Who can overcome the criticism of opponents in the past? How can you rectify past performances, whether that stands you in a good position to fight at the elite level? These are all the factors that kind of come into it. When you're engaging with the fighters, you're engaging with the promoters, and it's just part and parcel of the sport, the competitive nature of it.
Yeah, no, I think definitely we're looking forward to the competition. I think that's why the WBSS is good overall. You know what happens, anything new in boxing, people are kind of like hesitant to adopt it and embrace it. But I felt at the time it was good. I felt it was a different way, a different vehicle for us to be able to watch boxing. I think on the face of it, I think we've seen the best fight each other. So last year, Usyk came out of the tournament with the money and the Ali Trophy belt. Same with Callum Smith, and now they're feared guys. Obviously, Usyk's gone up to heavyweight, but I mean, ultimately, do you know what I mean? It's done their careers good. It's given them that trajectory they would have wanted. So I think it's a good tournament. I think for myself, if I'm looking at it as a fan, I'm able to see. Not my favourite fighter, but learn about fighters a lot more in terms of, you look at someone like Dorticas. He was in the last tournament, obviously came up against somebody like a Usyk in terms of who won the whole thing, so he fell short. This year he's back, he's now in the final, he's fighting Paredes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you say to yourself, well, that's good. Then you had, the previous round, Dorticus stopped Tabiti, and Tabiti was a great prospect. So again, for Tabiti, it's good because he's fast-tracked his career to a sense of he's got into a tough fight, and not only got into a tough fight, he's lost, been knocked out, but he's going to learn from that. So I think overall, the competition and it is doing well. I think, it's probably documented that they're losing money, but that's the sport of boxing. I think where they could have sort of tightened their ship a bit would have been the distribution. So now they seem to have partnered with DAZN and Sky. The distribution is going to be a lot easier. The process for purchasing pay-per-view is going to be a lot easier. I think before, when it had their website, then it was ITV2, it just didn't work because they don't have the familiarity of how to do a pay-per-view operation. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I think moving forward, I think we're going to see some great fights, especially if they can get, I know there was talk about the middleweights. If they can get a middleweight competition going, I think that would be great. I was even thinking they should even try and do 154 pounds because I think there's no real grand names there. And I thought, actually, if you could probably get a good level, do you know what I mean? Because you can't go outside the champions. you could try and get a few of the champions,
Yeah.
but you could get decent names. You know, you look at somebody like, especially if you're talking 154, you've got J-Rock, you got Lara there, you got Liam Smith there, you got Kell Brook there. So, do you know what I mean? That's just 4 names already. So there's definitely a couple of other names they could add to that bill. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what those guys do moving forward. I guess really... sorry, carry on, Tom.
That's the great thing about it as well. You've got guys that can come up from other divisions, and instead of people pointing the finger and saying, "Oh, well, this guy's not big enough to go up and prove it." If you're getting the big platform, you're getting the big exposure, the big money, then why not let these guys, if they've proven themselves, unified divisions? Like look at Inoue, for example. The guy's a monster, and he's going to be going up weight upon weight upon weight, and probably going to be banging guys out. And people are going to look back and think, "Raw, like no one's seeing someone of Inoue stature come through so quickly." Probably since Manny Pacquiao. Yeah. So it's interesting. It is definitely interesting.
I mean, I'm gonna and not to go off topic, but I just want to quickly ask this. I was speaking to somebody and they were saying Inoue could be pound for pound, and I was kind of like, nah. But then went on reflection, I was proper deep in it, and I was like, you know what? Actually, there's probably a good shout for him to be pound for pound. So the next few months, I think, will be interesting because it's hard. I think you've got to have Canelo on that list. You've got to have Crawford on that list. Definitely. You've got to have Lomachenko on that list, and you have to have Usyk on that list, in my opinion. And then that's one spot left for the top 5. And that could be an Inoue, it could be an Errol Spence. So yeah, I think next few months are really going to help shape what happens with this whole pay-per-view land, pay-per-view pound for pound land. You know, if Kovalev and Canelo get it on again. I know Canelo has his critics, but you've got to give his props. You know, he's taking on challenge after challenge, in my opinion. So in terms of the agenda, we just talked about the Chisora and his psycho movements, but I think good on to him. You know, bottom line is, you want more money, you've got to ask for it, and you are the fighter. You get one life as a fighter, so you know, fair play to him. So this weekend we see the return of the Gypsy King in Las Vegas, taking on Otto Wallin.
Wallin,
yeah, exactly. I can hear the excitement in your voice, Tom. What's your thoughts on that fight specifically?
I'm just trying to make a strong case for Wallin. I just want to see him put up a good competitive performance, but I think Fury, he's facing a bit of I see he's facing a little bit of criticism about, you know, these opponents that it's dating back to the Pianetta, that, like, you know, those ways of opponents. But you can't really disrespect Fury by saying that, because every fighter is going to go through a purple patch where they're either going to underperform at a certain level, or they're going to overperform against a weak level of opponents. So you can't really win. You know, it's not a win-win kind of thing anymore with fighters. But you know, I expect Fury to deal with Wallin probably the same way he dealt with I can't remember his name now. His last fight,
Thomas Schwartz. I hope. Yeah, I mean,
Schwartz,
I hope it's not as easy as that. But I know what you mean. I get what you're trying to say.
But again, Wallin's tall. He's long, and he's going to be a bit more. He's going to be a bit more of a threat than Schwartz, because at least Fury has someone, you know, similar build, similar kind of size, and probably with a little bit more speed. Wallin's going to have, but I think with Fury's reflexes, his IQ, he should be able to work Wallin out fairly swiftly, and I can expect him to get another stoppage. That's probably what he needs. You know, he's on the SPN now. They're probably not expecting any less from him. Then stoppage wins, blistering hand speed, razor sharp movement. That's what they're expecting. But
I mean, it's interesting because when you check it, like in terms of Fury, you think back his last. If I said to you, you know, the guy's a real beast. You know, his last 3 fighters, including Otto Wallin, his last 3 fights against undefeated fighters. Otto Wallin's undefeated, Schwartz is undefeated, Wilder's undefeated. So if you look at it from a perspective of the top ranked machine, they've done a really good job, because I'm telling you now, they are going to lay it on thick when they say, look, he's fought these guys that have had a quantity of about 84 fights and haven't lost, and Fury's beat them. because I would still say he beat Wilder, even though he didn't get it on record. Draws the best result, yada, yada, yada. But he beat Schwartz comprehensively. I see him doing the same for Wallin. I know you said you're trying to make a case for him. For me, I can't make a case for him. He's I'm not going to say typical European style, but there's nothing special about him. You look at his opponents, he's not... I've seen some of his fights. I've seen highlights on as you do on the YouTube. Nothing special, in my opinion. Okay, he's a southpaw. I think that's probably the most awkwardness, because usually when southpaws face off each other, it can be a bit awkward. But again, we know that Fury's ambidextrous, so he can go left or right. You know what I mean? Orthodox southpaw. Yeah. He's going to be able to do it. So I think it's all, again, we're just going to go back to Fury. I think it's all about the performance. I think the performance has to be one that says, you know what, I'm the man. Okay, it's Otto Wallin, but let's be honest, Deontay Wilder before Stiverne probably was fighting similar type of opponents anyway. So that's what happens in the heavyweights division. So I think people can't really give him stick, because I think we know what his goal is. His goal is to fight Wilder next year, and he's taking these 2 warm-up fights to get him there. And like I said, Top Rank will promote the fact that these guys were undefeated and say that, listen, he's taking on 2 undefeated guys, 2 top competitors. This is where he's at. So, yeah, for me, I think it's hard to criticise him. I get why people want to, but I'm like, look, let's get the Wilder fight and then see what he does. If he fights Wilder, beats Wilder, and then goes back to these kind of opponents, then we know that this is not credible. But I can't see that happening. Definitely. Yeah, I think he'll raise to the challenge, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think as well. Like, you know, you can't really I don't understand why people criticise Fury for taking these 2 fights, because at the end of the day, it was the same procedure before the first Wilder fight. Went in there, proved himself. He's got to do the same thing. If he doesn't show up in February for the rematch and he underperforms, then we'll see it. We'll see it live, and we'll see it how it compares to the first fight of Wilder. You know, what's important is that on paper these guys are credible. Mm-hmm. They've got high rankings. They've got undefeated records. So you know, there's no room to slip up now. We saw Joshua take things lightly. He got found out. Yeah. So if you're taking things lightly at this upper elite level, you're going to get found out. It doesn't matter if you're you know, a so-called weak opponent, if you're not in the top 10. If you can punch and you put the shots together, and you know, you have some sort of credibility, then who knows? You know, anything could happen.
Anything is possible.
So you just kind of come to accept that. The boxing world will come to accept that. You know, Wilder, Fury, Joshua, Ruiz, they're the top people. If they underperform, then they're right to face criticism, because they've been putting in, you know, performances against, when they do face one another. That when Wilder fought Fury, it was back and forth, you know, up and down. Both men were on the floor. So that's what we expect, you know, top quality entertainment.
Exactly. And then just on that, I was going to say, guys, for the guys on the lines, we're going to be opening the lines at 8 o'clock. So do bear with us. Once you hear the lines are open, stay on, because we will be going through to the callers non-stop. So Tom, just on that, one thing we didn't really mention too much, it took place last week, though, was the Andrew Ruiz, Anthony Joshua press conference. Now that it's all kind of wrapped up with the last one in London, culminating last Friday, did you take anything from that press conference that makes you think Joshua's winning, Ruiz is winning, or was there anything you thought, that's interesting?
I think Joshua's, I still feel there's an element of spite, a little bit of bitterness there. I think Ruiz is, you know, maintained his head. He's not let, although he's been out on a bit of a spending spree. He's not let, I don't think, it get to him. He's still showing that championship mentality where he wants to retain his titles. He wants to prove people wrong. He doesn't want people to perceive him as the short, fat guy that isn't taking boxing seriously. Now he's a champion. Will he relinquish his belts? You know, will he give them up too easily? I don't think that's the case. I think if you've got someone's number already, that should just give you added confidence that you're going to do an even better job the next time around. So, you know, with these press conferences, it's all just bravado, isn't it? Exactly. If you can get a mental edge over your opponent, then good. But you've got to still prove it in the ring. Exactly. The mental edge is when you come face to face, the referee puts you apart, and you have to touch gloves. and that's it.
Yeah.
That's when the mental health starts to
And I think
creep in.
you're definitely right on that. I think it's all subliminals, it's all intangibles. Everyone's reading into it. I think ultimately Andy Ruiz has played the ultimate Arsenal game, because from the first fight he came in very sort of humble, like a naive fan. What I did like in this instance that, correct me if I'm wrong, Joshua asked for to hold the belts. Now that Ruiz is the champ, so I would have liked Ruiz to say, "No, fuck you, man, that's not happening." But that didn't happen. So you know what? It's how it goes. They're both respectful. I think they both got a lot of respect for each other, and Ruiz definitely earned Joshua's respect. I don't know. I didn't take anything. Again, I think there's a lot of travel. They're saying the same buzzwords. I still think Joshua wasn't able to be himself. I still felt, it was a bit scripted. So, like, you look at the New York press conference, the speech that he gave about if I would have stopped then, although there's a home truths, it did feel a bit scripted. But again, if that's what is needed for him to kind of look deep within himself and kind of train hard and fight hard, because it's fucking do or die time right now, then you know what, it is what it is. Yeah. I think for me, Joshua, it's strange because I was looking at the odds. He's still the favourite going into this, and that's what makes me think, jeez, that's really not odd, but it wasn't a lucky punch. I know he said it was a punch from the gods. We all know that it was that one punch that changed the trajectory of the fight. But it was that one punch that really affected him. But what's to say that punch can't happen again? That was a punch Ruiz would have looked for and felt, well, this is a weaknesses of Joshua's. I'm going to lay this punch on to kind of knock him out. So I thought overall it was good. I love the fact that Ruiz was in his hombre. I loved when he just broke into English and Spanish. I think he's really representing. Going back to one of the things you said there, and I think, again, we do this in the media, and I have to say, again, it comes out from her, and everyone's like, oh, he's doing this and he's spending money. But I said to somebody, I was like, well, what's spending money got to do with training? I said, look, at the end of the day, he's just the heavyweight champion of the world. I know for a fact a lot of the jewelry he had beforehand, because I saw it after he won the fight. Yes, he's bought a Rolls Royce and a mansion. The mansion he's probably paid for. The Rolls Royce is probably comped. And the smart thing, which he said at the press conference, was that he's had his party a month earlier, so that it doesn't get involved in camp, because he didn't want to celebrate his birthday during camp. So he celebrated it before, and now he's going into camp. So again, listening to the team, I think they're really focused. Got a fucking outstanding coach in Manny Rubles, very diligent, very tactical man, with a high IQ and knowledge. So for me, I think that this fight is going to be huge. I can't wait. I don't think if anyone's ripping Saudi Arabia, I'm just like, man, get with the program. Like, every now and again, you get a curveball in your life. Everyone would have been cussing when Ali and Foreman took place in the Thriller Manila. Like, boom, it's a classic. 50, 60 years later, everyone's talking about it. So for me, I'm like, get behind this. If you can't get out there, then I'm sorry, but we're going to be out there. It's for real. So no, honestly, I think we've got to get behind this fight. I do want Joshua to win, because I still want to see Joshua versus Wilder. I think that is the big fight in the heavyweight division. And I think that would be the biggest fight of our lifetime. So, yeah, we'll see. But overall, I was impressed. So, listen, a little bit early, but why not? In fact, Tom, before I go to the calls, anything on your mind? Anything that's happening this week?
Just with the Ruiz-Joshua stuff, I feel as well, Ruiz, I mean, have you seen him in the gym? He's looking sharp. He's looking like he's planting those feet to keep those belts, because I think, if anything, he's up the ante now. He knows, Manny Robles knows there's going to be little adjustments he's going to have to make. And I'm just looking forward to it. I think preparations are going to go ahead. I'm also looking, before I forget, the Gloves Are Off was premiered as well. And also, I just wanted to ask you, Coach, there was a report put out about Gloves Are Off, that wasn't actually aired between Joshua and Miller.
Yes.
But apparently something kicked off. I mean, what's your thoughts?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, look, we've seen it with Dillian White and Chisora. Frotch and Groves didn't kick off, but there was animosity there. So I really wouldn't be surprised if we know now, looking back when I say hindsight, Miller was on copious amounts of drugs. So I really wouldn't be surprised if he was locked in that dark room with just Johnny Nelson in between him and Joshua, that they probably not had a fight, but like they got into it. Get handbags. They would have had handbags at dawn, if you ask me, But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if that ever gets released. So listen, let's go out to the lines.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go out to 984. I think we're starting with a resident 984. Mr. Appiah, hello. Hello. Going once. Yes. Can you hear us?
All right.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. You good?
No, Daniel from here.
Yeah, how you doing, boys? You all right?
Yeah, we're good, we're good. What's on your mind, brother?
Yeah, just a little bit about bit of everything really. Chisora. I think I love that little bit of needle, little bit of aggression, as if to say, listen, you're not going to pimp me. If you want more money, you got to ask for it. You got to fight for it.
Yes.
So yeah, big him up on that. I think that's a fascinating fight between him and Parker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go for a Parker win.
Knockout or decision?
I think it will go 12 rounds. It'd be 12 fucking high octane quality rounds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go for Parker.
Nice.
I haven't seen much of the press conferences with Ruiz and
Joshua,
but I'm still gonna go for a Ruiz win.
Okay.
I just think he'll have that. He'll have a little bit too much for AJ. His movement, his work rate, I think it'll be just too much for AJ. So.
And in terms of something that Tom said earlier, you think it could be a case of him just having AJ's number now that he's beaten him?
Yeah, I think it's that as well. Yeah, that little mental. Yeah, of course, definitely. And not last but not least, I know it's a bit all over the place here, but you made a good point about that. Yeah, cool. You made a good point about the Super Series. About you'd like to see it at 154 pounds.
Yeah,
I think that'd be quality. That'd be quality. I like the Super Series. I like that fact. But, you've got big balls, you've got to go in there and go and fucking prove it. And it's a knockout sort of tournament. I like that. So, yeah.
And if you think about it, I know he was in the country 2 weeks ago for the Lomachenko, but that's how Ward made his name. If he was obviously famed in America, he was a great amateur, but that really broke his name into sort of like, I would say, global scene, or at least UK and US scene for sure, right?
Yep, definitely. So, yeah, the tournament, I mean, definitely a good team. So
last question before, cause I know you're going to shoot off, but last question, Fury versus Wallin on the weekend. First 2 questions. 1, will you be paying for the pay-per-view? And 2, is there any chance of an upset?
I won't be paying for the pay-per-view, and there is no chance of an upset. I think Fury means business.
Yeah.
And there's no chance of an upset. Fury win for me, and then we look forward to seeing him against Wilder in February.
Yeah.
And hopefully some other mouth-watering fight in 2020.
Oh,
you know. So
definitely some big ones. All right, listen, D, thank you very much. Appreciate your time, and then we'll speak soon. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. Moving on to 774. I think it's the first caller. Got a new system, so I can tell new callers. 774. The floor is yours. Hello.
Hello, mate.
Yes. Who's calling?
Ramesh speaking. Ramesh Mahmood.
Oh, yes.
Ramesh,
What's Ramesh? What's going on, mate? You've been on the... How you doing? And the new. Well done, mate.
Thank you, mate.
Very well done.
How you doing, sir? After such a great victory.
Yeah, I'm good. It's all been sinking in over the past few days. Been back to work, so all the students are buzzing.
Yeah.
But yeah, still happy with it.
Oh, mate. I mean, we didn't get a chance to get down there, but I've read a lot of reports. I mean, I'll talk us through the fight. I know, obviously, it was a points decision, but from what I've heard, you had to kind of grit on your gum shield quite a little bit in the early rounds, but then sort of like rounds 4 onwards, you really started to take over and show your skill set. I mean, how do you remember the fight? Sort of, I'm playing.
Yeah, I thought I won rounds 1 and 2 quite comfortably,
mm-hmm.
and there was a little phase from about rounds 3, 4, and 5 where I was just sort of smothering my work a little bit. So I went back to the corner, and Michael in the corner said to me, the jab's working, boxing the back foot's working, so we adjusted the game plan a little bit in the corner, and then I thought I won the rest of the rounds comfortably, and it reflected on the score. The score was 98-93, so that gives me 7 rounds, and then give Jack Bush 2 rounds, and 1 round was even. So yeah, it was comfortable in the end.
Oh,
nice. How did it feel going the championship distance, Ruiz?
Yeah, it felt good. It's weird because after round 4, I walked back to my corner. I thought, wow, 10 rounds is long. And then got to about round 7, and Michael asked me in the corner, "How are you feeling?" I said to him, "I could do this all day long." Then when I got, it's mad. The later it got, the better I was feeling.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
All that training's been paying off then, right?
Exactly. I've only had 1 10-round fight now, but I feel like I can't go anything less than 10 rounds now, to be honest.
It's gonna be stepping out.
No, that's really good to hear. And in terms of obviously now you got the title. I mean, you've gone back to work as well, so the dust is settling in. But how about the family? How proud are you? Because obviously Michael told me about the family and the early support in the boxing. But how much of a proud moment was that for them to see you come home with the belt?
Yeah, it's fantastic for him. I think my dad's probably a lot happier than I am, to be honest. He can't take his eyes off the belt. So yeah, everyone's just really happy. The past few days, in any spare time I've been getting calls from various family members and friends to come over with the belt and get pictures and stuff like that. So everyone's just really pleased. I'm glad they had a good night.
Yes.
Ruiz, how are they? How did they take to you when you got to tell them that their teacher's a Southern area champion?
They said we better do our homework. I said to him, any attention you get, you're shining my belt.
Yes.
But no, they're happy as well. It's just good vibes all round.
Oh, wicked.
Brilliant.
And I guess, yeah, so really it was just to say, what's next? I guess I know you've got to celebrate, you've got to go back into work, but in terms of like, so are we looking at the English now, or you got any named opponents? You want to have a defence of the Southern area? What's the immediate plans?
It's hard to say really. I've got to sit down and speak about it with my manager, but if
the great Michael,
if a defence is reasonable, we'll have that. I've always said that I can float between weight divisions, so I can float between featherweight and super bantamweight. There's an interesting fight going on this weekend between Brad Foster and Lucian Ruiz. So I've sort of got one eye on that as well.
Yeah,
it's a good fight.
That's a headline. That's the headline fight, right? Is that? That's because that's Edwards is on that card as well, isn't it?
It's either that fight or the Sonny Edwards fight.
Yeah.
I think the Lucian Ruiz Brad Foster is probably the most interesting fight. Well, I say the most interesting, but there are some good fights.
I was going to say there's quite a few fights on that night, actually.
Yeah, you got the Lucian Ruiz one. You got Zach Chelly
against Cody Davis. Exactly. You've got Umar Sadouk.
Another good fight.
Exactly, another good fight.
So that's actually a good show on Friday. But yeah, from a selfish point of view, I've got my eyes on the Lucian Ruiz Brad Foster one.
Yes.
But if that's not available, then maybe a defence or the English. We've got to see what's available, to be honest. But I've just got to do. I'll leave that to Mickey, the manager, and I've just got to do my bit and keep myself in shape and keep my feet firmly on the ground.
No, that's
Is that healthy for you, Ruiz? You know, having the options to float around weight divisions, have these guys falling into the mix for yourself. Do you feel like you're benefiting and thriving off these kind of breakouts in the divisions?
Yeah, of course I benefit from it, especially because at super bantamweight and at featherweight, there's not many boxers about. So if the titles are tied up, and then there's not many other logical fights. So to be able to box in 2 different weight divisions just makes it a bit easier to make the good fights.
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear.
Because especially with the Southern area, I was always after the Southern area at super bantam, and I was mandatory for that. But it was hard getting opponents at super bantam, which is why we went to featherweight, and it paid off there.
And how was the coach feeling? Mickey must be proud as anything. Michael Amu Jr.
Yeah, he's really happy as well, and the whole team is just completely happy. As in the energy in that ring at the time, I can't describe it. Between my coach Michael, between manager Mickey, my dad was in the ring at the time, Ryan Walker was in the ring at the time, Jordan Bujan was in the ring at the time, and everyone was just completely happy. It was all good vibes. Yeah. And shout out to Ryan and Jordan as well, because they won their bouts as well.
Exactly. I was going to say the team really kind of like represented that night because they won So I've seen some of the team pictures, but I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the photo of you after your win, you could see that you had the whole support. And to be fair, I think that's really good. And then we go from there. So for me, I think for your team to be supporting you the way they are, I think that's really good. And I'm just looking forward to seeing you guys fight again, and definitely will be, hopefully, as long as there's no clash, we're going to be at that next one as well, covering. So, and you're getting good press as well. I saw the Boxing Social interview. I think I've seen Bells and Whistles. I've seen a few other of the boxing media company channels sort of following you as well. So that's what we want. You know, we want all of you guys to raise.
Yeah, it's mad because usually after my fights, I get a chance to go out and sort of speak to everyone. This time, I couldn't even get out of the change room because there was loads of people wanting to interview me and stuff like that. So it's nice to get the press. And
yes,
I keep saying it's only the start. There's more to come.
Yeah, exactly. So no, really good. So I'm good. That's all the questions from me. Tom, any questions from you?
No, I just want to say again to Streetwise, to Michael, to Jordan, to Ryan as well. Guys, you performed fantastically. I think all three of you should be proud of yourselves. It's good to see that there's a tight knit family vibe, running through that gym. And if anything, if you hadn't had the exposure 3-4 months ago, then people are going to start taking notice now. So it's good.
Especially after that Raps on TV interview, Ramez. That's what's giving you that full global scale, mate.
The takeover continues.
Exactly. So listen,
takeover continues.
Really appreciate you calling in today, Ramez. Appreciate that a lot. I'll be in touch with Michael about getting you guys down in the studio, do another interview and bring you down with that belt as well. But congratulations once again, and enjoy school tomorrow. See you later, mate.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
God bless.
Cheers. God bless. Bye. So going out to 910. I see that number calling up, Mr. Sam, Mr.
Hello, Raps. What's going on?
What's going on, bro? We're good. What's going on, bro? You all right?
Tom, I missed you, man. How you doing?
I missed you too, man. It's been a while. I just mean you're taking over, man. You're taking my job. You're the king of the mic.
Yes, mate. Let's get down to it. I don't want to take too many callers' time, but when we start off, we start off and talk about how crazy Derek Chisora is.
Yeah, give us your thoughts on that. Were you impressed?
I just think he's just... Do you know what? I wasn't impressed. I thought it was quite distasteful from Derek. I'm quite disappointed that he behaved in that way. It's like, I get it. You're getting paid adequately. Otherwise, you wouldn't be fighting. David Hayes not going to let you fight on the cheap because he knows he's going to get a nice commission cut of it. So he's already fighting a good fight. And the way David Hayes thinks is, okay, if you get through this fight, you're going to be able to fight these guys and you're going to be in this mix and you're going to be earning this much money. So I don't get why he's talking about how he should be a headliner. If I was him, you were once a borderline journeyman. You've got a good, solid fan base. You bring a lot of people into the show. I think it's a bit of a stretch to say that you sell out the arena, stand alone, and he's that much of a big name. I do feel, yes, in isolation, that could be a very good headliner alongside a very, very nicely stacked undercarders like the Conor Benns and, those types of guys, like the Josh Kellys and those kind of build. But for him to behave that way, I thought he disrespected the fighters, the main event, and I thought he just didn't really do himself justice in representing himself, if you get what I'm saying. It was just a bit disappointing, that's all, from just like from a fan perspective. Like, it's just not nice to see. It's just a bit weird, that's all. Is it an attention thing? Is it a publicity thing? It's just not cool at all. And Parker's not that type of guy to be piping up and to be saying that, he's not one to really give it that much lip. He's quite a true professional in the way he carries himself. So, it's disappointing. I just wanted to get that note out of the way. But what do you guys think? Do you agree or do you not?
I'll be honest, and I'll keep it very brief so you can move to your next point. I didn't think it was so, but I liked it. I thought it was entertaining, something different. I do get what you're saying because he was raggo. But you know what? I think sometimes we have to remember these are not physicians, these are not lawyers, these are not accountants. These are just boxers. They fight, and sometimes they get a bit grumpy. I think probably there was a lot of factors. They mentioned that he had just been sparring. Maybe that made him even more grumpier because you see Coogan's got an interview with Chisora before the press conference, and he's kind of like he's in DMX mode. You hear the DMX music in the background, So I definitely take your points on board. I did find it funny though, and I think you know what, it was needed.
No, it's funny. It is funny.
It wasn't wrong. I do think he's right. I do think that the Regis Progress Taylor fight, as much as it's a great fight, it's a fight for the purists. And if Chisora wasn't on that card, would people be flocking to watch that at the O2 Arena?
No,
do you know what I mean?
That. I do get that.
So yeah, but I get your point
but
as well.
It's the way you want to buy it. Like, Derek doesn't need to behave like that. You're a true professional, man.
Yeah.
Like, don't. But I just didn't feel like he could have said that afterwards. If he knocked Parker out, he could have been like, "Yeah, fuck Eddie Hearn.
Yeah.
Don't ever call me an undercut." Like, that's more of a statement than the mouth he's doing. You get what I'm saying?
That's also true.
That's the angle I'm coming on. But let's talk about AJ though. Let's talk about AJ Ruiz. Let's really get into that. Ruiz AJ now. Put some respect on that guy's name, Ruiz.
Right, give it to us, bro.
Junior. I feel that it's going to be I just think everything's up for grabs. Like, anything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I generally do believe it's one of those fights. I do feel that, Ruiz is calm. I've seen him on the pads. He's looking incredible. He's actually looking incredible. But Joshua, I haven't really seen that much of him. He's looking a bit leaner, really focusing on his boxing. But I get that he's focusing on his boxing, but you're not going to improve vastly in the amount of time since June, Yeah. They're still going to be doing the fundamentals the same, and I feel like Ruiz, with obviously what he did, he was like, if I took Joshua's biggest hit and got knocked out and he couldn't do the job, imagine when I'm really fit and I'm really focused. Look what he's doing. He's to celebrate, like you said earlier, like he didn't celebrate his birthday. He celebrated it before so he could get into training camp and get into the mode. Like, this guy is not just got him. He's not fighting for him. He's fighting for the whole of Mexico. He's fighting for the whole of Mexican fans. Like, I don't think people understand that when I'm saying Ruiz is fighting for Mexico. The president of Mexico came to greet you. Like, it's on your shoulders type thing. So Mexicans don't fuck around in terms of how they box. So I feel Ruiz will come with it. But also, I'm not one of these Team AJ guys that only knows about AJ in the boxing world. But I do feel that AJ will be improved. He'll be slick. I do feel like he'll put together a row of punches nicely. I think if he boxes long, I think it's his fight all day long. Yeah. I just really think he sticks to the boxing long and don't think about the crowd or thinking about any of his speeches or like all of that. Fuck all of that, because I feel like your legacy's on the line with this fight. If you lose, you're just going to become not like another Frank Bruno, but you know how when Frank Bruno was at the peak and then after he got beat by Tyson, he never looked the same, did he? I just don't want the same thing with Joshua, because I do think he's not better than Frank Bruno, but I do feel in terms of his branding and everything and the way people look up to him, I just feel like he's just good for boxing, because if he wins, the whole of boxing wins. The more people start researching fighters, the more demand it brings, and it brings more domestic value of the sport that we so much love and care about, and it brings such good light on it. But it's all up in his vote. I'm trying to get some tickets to go out there. I do think people, if you can get your tickets, go there, because this is like another Rumble in the Jungle.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, bro. So listen, we've got a couple of callers, so we're going to have to just run through it. But listen, before I'm going to ask you 2 questions, but it's very short. Are you going to be buying the Tyson Fury pay-per-view this weekend? And is there any chance of an upset?
No way in hell.
And you're not...
No way in hell.
On both counts?
No, and no. No to everything.
I hear you, brother. Listen, thank you very much, I appreciate you calling in as per usual.
No worries. Take care, guys.
Appreciate all the support.
Take care, mate.
Perfect. So we're going out to, again, another first-time caller, but it's 921, and I think I know who this is, but I'll let him introduce himself. 921, floor is yours.
How you doing there, guys? You okay?
I'm good. How you doing? So for the guys listening and for the future listeners, we have Dean White, Dillian White's brother, on the line. He's going to give us a bit of an update, give us his thoughts. Floor is yours, Dean. How you feeling? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good, man. I was listening in that I second a lot of that what the other gentleman was saying there previous to me coming on. He seemed to know his boxing quite well. So, yeah. It's an interesting fight. It's definitely an interesting fight. He's right, the whole of Mexico is behind Andrew Ruiz. He's in the history books, man. You know what I mean? Their first heavyweight champion. What an incredible achievement, So he's got a lot of pressure on his back, though. Now he's the man with the pressure on his back more so than AJ. Yeah. So the burden has been shifted. So in terms of pressure, AJ doesn't have as much pressure because now he is the challenger. not the champion. So it's a different mindset. Again, the hunger and the desire is totally different. Now the pressure is all on Andy Ruiz to replicate what he done on June the 1st. So, either way you spin the coin, there's a lot of pressure because secondly, you could look at it like, it's sort of not make or break, but it is a real decider for the future of Joshua as a fighter, as a brand, and what people buying into him, So, interesting times. I hope to be there. And, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely. D, it's Tom from the other side of the line. It's good to have you on the platform again. We don't meet many knowledgeable guys than yourself, so it's always good to get your insight. Wanted to ask you firstly, before I touch on the rest of the camp, obviously John Harding Jr., Richard Riatpour, your brother Dillian, got one special young talent that probably hasn't had a lot of light shined on him, Harvey Horn. I know he's working with Tibbs a lot recently. He looks sharp at the gym. Give any sort of thoughts, insight into him?
No, I don't really have much information. It's quite weird. So obviously, there's segments of everything. I know Mark's got a few boys down there. I'm not particularly at the Peacock a lot. What information do you have on this gentleman? Is this something you're saying Dillian might be looking into this gentleman, or just with Mark? I haven't heard anything about this particular kid, if truth be told.
Okay, no, just that. I thought I think he's fighting on the Sonny Edwards bill this week. Just thought if he's obviously been under tutelage with Mark, that you might have had a bit of because I know you cover a wide spectrum of boxing, D. So had to ask.
Yeah, sorry about that. No, maybe not to be rude about this. I don't really know much about it. I know Mark's got a few fighters. At the minute, I don't spend a lot of time in the Peacock. I'm either maybe Brixton or Northwest and other gyms, maybe in Birmingham and so on. But I'm not sure about that guy. If he is on the bill, I actually just got the schedule actually for the let me actually check it while I just got an email from Frank Warren's guys. Let me just check that. You said bear with me. You said Horn, yeah, is that correct?
Yeah, Harvey Horn.
Yeah. Harvey Horn.
I think looking at it, I think he's going to be coming on before your guy. So it'll be good to kind of get more details on Shakan.
Shakan is actually live on BT Sport. He's on at 8:10.
Oh, nice.
If I'm just going to go back to the email, he's fighting for the light heavyweight title. It's quite a stacked card, to be honest with you. There's quite a lot of boys on there. So obviously you've got. Let me go through the order. We've got Sonny Edwards versus Hugo. Guarenas? Then you've got Brad Foster versus Lucian Reed, Zach Chelly versus Cody Davis, and then Dexter Spellman versus Shakan Peters. Here's your man right here, Harvey Horn versus Ellis Goodwin. I can't pronounce it, a Spanish kid. So, that seems like a flyweight contest. Okay, and then you've got, not being funny, I could not pronounce this kid's name here, but hey, another kid.
don't worry, bro. I mean, but Dean, tell us about Shakan, because I know he's, as you said, he's fighting for the English light heavyweight title.
That's correct.
Tell us about that, because I guess everyone knows about the light heavyweight a bit more now because of Boatsi and Yard, but obviously Shakan's fighting for the English light heavyweight title. So yeah, what's your aspirations for him, and just tell us a bit about him.
Shakan, I've been getting him a bit of traction lately. Bringing him to the fights, getting him in some interviews. Still got a long way to do. He's very, very good talent. Won the Ultimate Boxer a few fights back. He's actually beat Dexter Spellman already in there on his way to winning the tournament. So this is like a rematch at the minute. So, Dexter Spellman is the champion and he's the challenger. So, he's got it all to do. But he's like 6'6" as a light heavyweight. He's a bit of a freak. He's in tremendous shape. And come Saturday night, we're going to have a good performance from Shaq. He's going to go out there and become the new heavyweight champion. That's what I believe. That's why I, got in contact with Warren and matched him up and made this fight, because I believe, he's beat him already. I think he's got the beating of him again. And then we can march him on slowly. But in this particular fight, there's actually a rematch clause. I'm not sure many people know, because obviously he was the champion and he was the challenger. So he said, well, it's not, he wanted it because it was like, what's the word I'm looking for? It was not mandated, basically. So it was
okay. It was kind of like
what's the word I'm looking
for? It was mandated then, right?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
It was a voluntary.
So
he said it's
voluntary.
voluntary,
That's the word. My brain went blank there. Yes, it's a voluntary defence. So he said, you know what? As a voluntary, I want a rematch. Because he's obviously got reservations for himself, and he's unsure of himself. That's what I believe, because he wouldn't ask for a rematch clause if he wasn't. Yeah. But Shakan is that's Dexter Spillman I'm on about. Yeah. Yes. And Shakan is very, very good. He's strong. He knows how to box long, box mid-range, goes to the body well, uses his jab, and uses his reach very, very well. So on Saturday, Dexter Spillman's got a hard night ahead of him. He's going to have to cut the ring and get in close and do his work. But bit of a puncher, I'm led to believe. And I've heard from people where's he from? Is it Sheffield, Bradford, Doncaster? Up that kind of neck of the woods. Yeah. I've said that he said down the long haul, over a 10-round duration, he'll do better. So come Saturday night, let's see. It's going to be live on BT Sport. People tune in, log in and watch that.
It's part of the ESPN
not, come down to the show.
Yeah.
And come and watch it.
No, definitely. That sounds good. And what I was going to say is definitely want to get you in the studio with Shakan as well. Hopefully, maybe even next week, if he once he's victorious, and kind of hear more from him, hear about his story, because there's so many stories in the boxing world. But Dean, before I let you go, just one question I want to ask you. You've seen the agenda. We're looking at Tyson Fury versus Wallin, but because you're a learned man in the industry, I want like a bit of detail from you. Tyson Fury versus Wallin. Is it right that fight is being criticised, or do you think everyone should be patient and understand that this is a step in the right direction to get him to the WBC belt?
All right, so let's kind of give you an insight a little bit into this. If you're looking at the situation, I can hear the criticism, because when you look at it, you've got Joshua and Ruiz fighting. Then you have Wilder fighting, what's his name? Ortiz, potentially, because obviously that was meant to be made. I don't know what's happening with that. And then you've got Tyson Fury fighting this Wallin character. Obviously, I heard he was a decent amateur, gone into the professional ranks. I understand why the fight's being made, because obviously he's looking at the Wilder fight tune-ups, getting to deal with someone of 6'6", 6'7", the height, the range, like that kind of thing. So he's just kind of preparing himself for the Wilder fight. Only difference is that guy doesn't punch nowhere near as hard as Wilder. So the only thing you have is a big chap in front of you. I don't know if he can use his jab that well, but I suppose as an elite amateur, I'm sure he should be handy. But there's a lot of criticism, because they're saying, this kid here is the lineal champion, dethroned Klitschko, went to America, and actually rightly dethroned Deontay Wilder, but didn't get the decision.
Yeah, exactly.
And in a lot of people's eyes, is the real WBC champion. But now he's come back, and what he's doing is, to be honest, he's done it in reverse, actually, because he should have took these warm-up fights prior to fighting Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder thought he'd catch him cold, because he's been off for 3 years. He thought he was catching him cold, and he'd be able to catch him, get him out of there. Now he's saying, listen, I'm going to take these fights. I'm going to fight a lot of big guys. Get used to trying to jab, maybe fighting at mid-range, long range, working on clinching, and you're just going to practice stuff in there with that Wallin. I don't think he has nothing to fear in that fight not being fun. It's heavyweight boxing, anything can happen. But this is Tyson Fury we're talking about. Very exceptional talent, can box, can move. He does a lot of feints, which a lot of these boys don't do. And it puts people off from letting their hands go when people feint a lot, Exactly. So people got to understand the logic of feinting. So what he does is he throws off people's rhythm, and then he's able to fire his shot and use his jab, as he does exceptionally well. They're fighting for the Mayon title, Cinco de Mayo. It's going to be amazing and crazy atmosphere out there. Would have liked to have been there, but hey, my man Shakan's fighting, so I've got to stay here and represent.
Exactly. You've got to build the youth.
That's what I'm saying. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. I mean, listen, what I've got to give them credit for is, listen, they're building up Fury in America. Amazing. He's on a big billboard, I thought, in Vegas. Listen, he's big in the UK already, and now they're doing big things across the pond with him.
Exactly.
Listen, they're trying to make him into a big megastar, and they're doing good stuff. All he's got to do is go and deliver, which I believe he will, and I think he'll do it quite easily. I just hope Wallin can go a little bit around, not like the gentleman before that went in there, didn't do anything. He definitely did not deserve to be in the room with Tyson Fury, the other guy, because when
Tom
he
Schwartz,
Gasper, he was already virtually out, and he was looking for a way out in that fight, trying to get him disqualified.
Yep.
So we knew he shouldn't have been in there, and he went down. All he done was he was a virtual walking punch bag, and we saw what happened to him in the end.
Exactly.
Credit to him, because he was undefeated until coming in there. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about these elite boys, there's called elite for a reason, and there's guys underneath those guys, and he just wasn't on that elite level.
Not at all. And I think you hit the nail on the head there, and something we were speaking about earlier, that is very good promotion from Top Rank, and it's been very clever from them, because they will spin the fact that the last three opponents of Fury, including Wallin, have all been undefeated. So in the perception of the American fan, which is what they're trying to conquer, they're going to think this guy's undefeated. And he's beaten undefeated fighters, not knowing that actually the level of a Schwartz and a Wallin is nowhere near a level of a Wilder, a Ruiz, a Joshua, and so forth. But listen, Dean.
Even if you went in there with a Parker.
Yeah.
Not at that level, but... So what were you saying?
No, I was just going to say, because we're running out of time, but I just wanted to say appreciate you calling in. Hope that we get you in the studio very soon. Thank you for calling in and kind of giving us your insight. It's been very sort of worthwhile, so appreciate that. Good luck with Shakan this weekend to you and the team. And we'll definitely be speaking in the next few days.
All right, wonderful.
Top man, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Take care, mate. Thank you.
Cheers, bye-bye. Right, so the last caller of the night is going to be 581. 581, the floor is yours. Hello.
Yes, gents, it's Dean Sinclair.
Yes, Dean, the first time caller, but we've Instagram, right?
Yep, Flace 1985.
Flace, how you doing, sir?
How you, buddy?
Everyone good?
Very good.
All good, man. How are you?
Nice one.
What's on your mind?
Brother. I'm good.
Question or statement?
Statement, to be honest. The AJ Ruiz press conference. I must admit, I don't know about you guys, but I was a bit underwhelmed. I expected more from AJ, a bit more fire in there. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree, man. I think, I think with a fight of this magnitude, you expect, especially after AJ, not getting his way, not getting the result, you'd think it would have pressed him a bit. His mentality. But we know the typical AJ that likes to, remain calm, cool, collected. On the big stage. I think, the narrative behind the first fight probably does itself justice for promoting the rematch. I don't think there needs to be any more needle. We've seen the kind of external factors that have kind of gone on with, the whole Lennox saga, with the back and forth, the social media spats with Fury, Wilder. So I think, you're right. It was a bit underwhelming. But I think these are kind of, you bite your tongue and you think, we're going to wait now. Saudi Arabia is the destination, and they're going to live up to expectations, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I suppose, to be fair, it is a bit early in the day. Maybe closer to the time, you might see a bit more fireworks from AJ. You never know. Yeah. But I must admit, I was a bit underwhelmed. I did thought I'd see a bit more from him. But also, just to take on something Dean White just said, he stole a bit of my thunder, to be honest. When he came at it from a different perspective. He said the pressure on this one is on Ruiz. Ruiz now has something to lose, which no one's really mentioned. Whereas in the first fight, Ruiz got knocked down, fair play to him. He got back up, through caution to the wins. Difference is this time he's got something to lose. He didn't last time. Yeah. Do you think that's going to play into the psyche of the fight?
Tom, you go and then I'll go after you, or I can go first, whatever's.
Well, I don't mind. I think there is a lot of pressure on Ruiz's shoulders because he knows exactly what it feels like to be a unified champ now. He's got that bargaining power with the other guys on opposite terrestrial networks. But I think if he, like I said before to Coach before we went live to the callers, that if you've got someone's number and you're able to dictate and demonstrate your skill set at this elite level, then I can't see why you'd be any different. I don't see Ruiz being cagey in the rematch. I can see him being just as explosive as the first fight, asking Joshua questions from the very start. How is Joshua going to react? How is he going to respond now that it's still or die for him. He's the challenger. He's still got a big profile, but at the end of the day, they're all his marbles. His marbles have been taken away from him, and as a champion, you've got to react. And it's all well and good, communicating off job against guys that have been there and done it, have bounced back from defeat. Now it's your time to prove it, and we'll have to wait and see on the night. Hopefully he'll be able to rectify the mistakes that he made in preparation. Obviously, we'll never know now what really went on, but it's all irrelevant. The rematch is here.
No excuses this time.
Exactly.
No excuses.
And I guess, Dean, this question for you, I guess, because you are right. As Dean mentioned, the pressures on Ruiz. In your point of view, has there been anything that changed your mind? I know you felt the press conference was a bit subdued, but was there anything during that press conference that changed your mind in terms of how the outcome of the fight may go, or do you still have the same person?
Not really, to be honest. I'll tell you something which has happened. I say happened. Something AJ's done, which I don't think people should underestimate. His trip to Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes, you go back to your homeland and you surround yourself with, quote unquote, your people, your roots, and that can play into your psyche as a man. And I think AJ could carry that in the fight. Just that trip. It sounds weird, it sounds funny, but sorry, go on.
Carry on. Where you going? I interrupted. Carry on. Where you going, bro?
Yeah. It can just play. It can do funny things to a man when you get back to your roots, your homeland. You surround yourself with your people. It clears your mind. It will clear his mind a lot.
Yeah.
He's reconnected with his people, with Nigeria, and that could play in his favour.
Yeah.
Put it that way. That could play in AJ's favour.
And I think you've made
I don't know what you think.
Yeah, no, I think that's quite interesting because I say chasing, that's a bit strong, but I've been contacting Joshua's team to get footage of that because I know the UK press are not too interested in it, but I'm really interested about how it came about. I understand the length of time you went there, but what was the agenda? Give us some footage because I truly agree. I agree with you. I think that says something more about where his mind's at. There's definitely the spiritual element into it. But I think you are right. I think we're probably overlooking it because it's happened. It's kind of happened. It went, and it wasn't picked up by the mainstream press. It wasn't really picked up by his managers or his PR company putting it out there. So I think that was more of a personal thing from what I understand as well. It was something that was closer to home to him, which I think could be a good sign. I'll be honest, the first fight I felt Joshua would win easily. I can go into the reasons. Not that I doubted Ruiz because of his shape. I just doubted Ruiz because of the power he showed against Parker. But we all know what's happened. Yeah. He's the champion. This fight, I still see it as 50-50. I think Tom raises some really good points, and I can't see over that. I think I'm just calling it as a 50-50 because of Joshua's reputation. I think Joshua's reputation and maybe something really going wrong behind the scenes of the first fight is making me think, okay, he might have a chance. But I was there, I witnessed it. He got beat up, and I'm like, if Ruiz can do that once and can land that same punch, early, I don't know.
Yeah.
So listen, Dean, because we're just running out of time. So the last question for you, though, or last two questions, are you going to be ordering the Tyson Fury Wallin fight on pay-per-view? And is there any chance of Wallin winning?
Not a chance in hell on both. Not a chance in hell. I tell you what, if Eddie Hearn had that on pay-per-view, there'll be uproar. I think that's a disgrace.
Yeah, very
true.
But that's a different topic. But
that's a different point. So listen, Dean, thank you very much. I hope that you'll be calling into the show as frequent as possibly.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
No problem. Great comments. And take care, and we'll speak soon.
Thanks very much for the support, man. Cheers.
Appreciate that. So, good show, Tom. Run over a little bit. So hopefully that's the way moving forward. Get the right energy, get the right personalities. No real need for controversy. Just focus on building bridges and promoting boxing in the way it needs to be. So, listen, guys, really appreciate everyone that's called in. Tom, last words from you?
Yeah, just to make sure, guys, just want to say a massive thank you to our callers again this week, especially Ramez Mahmood again, the new Southern Area champion, and also Dean White. You know, it's great to have refreshment. It's great to have, you know, these guys giving their impetus, their knowledge. You know, these are guys that have been around boxing for years. Yeah. So we have to appreciate them. You know, we're giving these guys a platform. They're producing it time and time again. So just keep following Raps on TV, all social media outlets,
Instagram, YouTube, keep Facebook, Twitter, everything. So show will go live tomorrow for the live listeners, but for the guys listening in the future, thank you and get ready. Today we've had 2 guys break their first time calling vaginal virgin duck. So like the rest of you guys, we've got more. We want to hear from more of you, more fans talking boxing. Again, we always keep saying it, but next few weeks is going to be really exciting, especially the build up to Spence versus Porter. So listen, guys, as we said, everywhere you go, it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Raps on TV. Peace.
We're out. Peace.